At AQA, we work with the UK's largest teacher network to shape the future of assessment. With teachers for students, we ask questions today that matter tomorrow.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles.
Welcome to Teachers Talk Radio. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for downloading this episode from Teachers Talk Radio. You can find the full schedule and listen back to all our shows at ttradio.org. Enjoy the podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Tuesday Twilight show at Teachers Talk Radio every second Tuesday from 6 p.m. live and then recorded on all podcast channels. You can listen back, and we always talk about a hot topic in higher education with my brilliant guests, and today's topic is going to be student support. We talk a lot about the academic side, right? About the academic experience, the submission rates and pass rates and the graduate outcomes and all of these. But behind every success, there's someone who supported the student, and it could be in family, but we also have institutional support. And today I have two brilliant guests who have a lot of expertise in that area. And I'd like to really talk about it. How is it now? How the future will be or should be, and where we are now with this. And eventually we are all in student support, right? We will talk about these topics, and I will invite them to the stage just in a second. But before that, I would like to just give a shout to our wonderful partners who are with us and who make it possible that we can do these shows for free for all the audience. So one of them is Hashi Learning, who are publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. They have fantastic books, really. I just love them. Level up your professional development today and visit this site. You can see on the screen, www.hashilearning.com, to explore the full range of titles. Another shout to our other partner, AQA, who know teachers are the real experts in the classroom. That's why they work closely with teachers like you, combining your insights with their assessment expertise to create resources, tools, training, and guidance that genuinely make a difference. They are the UK's most chosen assessment organization, so chances are high you already know their work. So AQA are focused on helping teachers feel supported and ready. If you want to find out more about how they work, just go to the website and search for AQA. We work with experts. Thank you to our sponsors. And with this, I'd like to invite to the stage my first wonderful guest, Faye Mitcham. Hi, Faye. And Faye is the head of accessibility services at London College of Contemporary Arts. I worked with her, and an amazing, inspiring person. Thank you for coming to the show. And our second guest is Emma Buhtina, who is the head of student services at Regent College London. Hi, Emma. So nice to see you again. Actually, I've been working with both ladies, and so inspiring, and I'm genuinely just impressed by the work of the two of you do for the students. And you do kind of in the background, but not so much in the background. For the students, you are the foreground, right? So thank you, ladies, for being here. And I just would like to start a bit like asking you, I know that both of you have academic background, right? And you were teaching, Faye, you used to be a dean even. So a little bit, just very shortly, what brought you to student services? What was the point when you decided that you end up in student services? And just any of you, if you want to start.
Yeah, I will kick off.
Yes.
So going back, so I started my career in healthcare and healthcare management, really. So working with supported living, a care manager for mental health, forensic mental health, and learning difficulties. I become really disillusioned working in many care organisations about the support that was given, and felt that I could actually do a better service by going in and teaching people about care. So did that for a long time. As you said, Timea, then went in to become a dean of a health department in a higher education establishment, and then looked, and I'd been through teaching, I'd become a senior fellow, so then looked about putting the two together, the supporting students, the teaching side, the higher education, and developing a wellbeing service, because where I currently was, they didn't have one. And because, supporting students, it really does come back down to those basics of Maslow, really, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And if we're not meeting those, the lower end of the triangle, we're never going to get to, that higher achievement. So that's really what brought me into this. And and I've been here ever since.
Thank you so much, Faye. And we will come really connecting the dots very well together. Thank you very much, Emma. What brought you to student services?
Just kind of touch points on Faye. Faye, that's so amazing that you have an academic background, because there's so many welfare staff that don't have the academic background. And you would know there is a significant gap between academic services and professional services. And a lot of wellbeing staff would not know the pressure, the difficulty that it goes through for, let's say, lecturers, ensuring that lesson plans are inclusive, making sure reasonable adjustments in place. So I think it's so amazing that you have that academic background, and working in the industry that you're working in at the moment, it will definitely help staff. So I started my career in student welfare, so in college, in higher education. And I decided to do a teaching qualification, not because I wanted to teach. So I currently have 2 teaching qualifications. And the only reason why I've done that is to understand the student journey a little bit more. So as soon as I completed my teaching qualification, they gave me teaching hours whilst I was head of student services. And I was then teaching on the level 5 education and training program, where then I can observe future lecturers. And then that is where I understood the responsibilities that I have as a lecturer. And now what I do in my current role is I make sure that I'm very supportive with the academic lecturers. What do the lecturers need from me? Do they need the list of all the students that have a mental health condition, that have a disability? What can I do to improve things? And how can I raise more awareness? How can I make sure your lecture is engaging, interesting, and you're able to make a great learning environment?
Yes.
So matching across the two, because I really think that a lot of wellbeing staff across HE aren't very supportive. They don't really work together as much as they say they would want to, but there is a significant gap. There's always kind of like a battle between the two.
And just touching on that point that you made, about the academics and having what they need and sharing those reasonable adjustments of students. We see this so much across the board in so many different places. You can do everything and put the reasonable adjustment in, but if it's not getting to that lecturer, then there's an issue and that's not being put in place. And, there's a lot of systems out there now that actually help with that and support that. But you're never going to negate the fact that a teacher may come in one day, last minute, doesn't know the student, and it can, cause an issue for that student because they feel that their reasonable adjustments, they shouldn't have to ask again for them. So I think, we've come up so far in the last 10, 20 years, but we've still got so far to go.
Yeah, and we will talk about it just now. And thank you for both of you for bringing this up. Thank you, Emma, also for sharing your background. It is really fascinating that you went into teaching to see the other side. It's really great. And this is exactly what I would then, it naturally feeds into the next topic that we could talk about, the whole student journey and being that one shop stop for the student actually. Because when the student has an issue, they don't really identify themselves that, it's a pastoral issue. It's an academic issue. This is a well-being issue, but they just have an issue, right? Or they have a question. They have uncertainty. They might not even know what they have, right? So let's talk. I'd like to hear from each of you on what would be ideal of working together with, whole institutionally with the lecturer, but also institutionally with as student support, because as I strongly believe, and you both touched upon it, that also the academic is in a support, right? So it's really both. And as I said, for the student, we are all representing the institution. It's not like one department or another. And the worst that can happen is for the student to be kind of ping-ponged around the institution. So if you could just expand a bit on it, what would be ideal and how far we are from it? We have come a lot, right? And as Faye says, 10 years ago, when I used to attend university, nobody talked about well-being, accessibility, or any kind of these things, unfortunately. And we have come far, and that was, 25 years ago. How far we still have to go, and what can you just say about this student journey, being the one-stop shop, being the one institutional approach? So around these things, many of these things are just thrown into, So I don't know who wants to go ahead. And then obviously it's amazing if you react to each other's things as well.
I think really it is about the holistic journey, and it starts before they step foot into a classroom. There's still so many bridges and barriers that we need to cross with that recruitment period, moving into the actual study period. And, I know a lot of institutions are only new to wellbeing and, are still seeing it sort of a little bit of a tick box exercise, but it really does need to be funneled through from recruitment, admissions into the space of the classroom. You
mean that even at recruitment, we should know about them and then flag it? That's
100%.
Okay.
Thank you, Emma. I will let you jump.
Bold letters.
Right, yes.
Yeah, and we don't do that now.
So what we've done is we're quite proactive in this area. So what was happening when I joined Regent is I was getting a list of all the disabled students 2 months down the line of the list of students that have a disability. But what happened in those 2 months? They've possibly been disadvantaged. They haven't got the right support in place. Who have they spoken to? So I then established pre-enrolled support. So I now have access to the CRM where all the students that would like to enroll to Regent, if they've declared a disability, I export it. We've initiated a conversation beforehand. If you've declared that you have ADHD, we've already spoken to you about what support is available at Regent, if you can apply for DSA, what DSA is. So we are very proactive with the recruitment and the admissions team, and it's helped us so much, tremendously, especially with students that have concerns in terms of the accessibility of the building. So we have 5 campuses, and we just need to make sure that they're all accessible, whether you're a wheelchair user or if you're not able to go up the stairs because of back pain. We've created PEEP plans, so personal emergency evacuation plans, which we share across with the departments, fire marshals, first aid staff, to make sure that all staff know what to do in the event of an emergency. But I think more universities need to then focus on the pre-enrolled support. Reach out to them beforehand. That would then decrease the anxiety that they may be experiencing. For students that are care experienced, and not even talking about, let's say, mental health or disabilities, but students that are care experienced, it's their first time entering university, very anxious, alone, maybe no parents, no support circle. They only have the higher education establishment, and that's why we need to be very proactive at the very, very start, just like Faye also mentioned.
Yeah, so it's a good point. And being pre-enrollment, we should know about them. We could then make sure that by the time they arrive, they are already, reassured that everything is helping them. Then, yes,
I agree with that, and definitely. And we're starting to speak to students before they're coming in. I think a lot of places are, but there's still that massive fear from students that if they just do something before they come, then they won't get a place. And I think we really need to break down that stigma still. I know that on our application forms, we don't ask because it is seen as discriminatory. But again, we really want students to be able to feel comfortable with discussing that before they come in. With things like DSA, I mean, as you know, Emma, it takes months to get
exactly the waiting time.
Can we just talk about DSA for the sake of all the listeners? It might not be.
Sorry. DSA
allowance.
It comes from student finance, and it's quite a process to be able to get that in place for a student. It can take months at a time. So if you've got a student who hasn't declared a condition, and then they come in and then they declare it, it puts them on a back foot. It really does. The sort of reasonable adjustments that DSA can provide, we can't provide those as an organisation, which is why they are there to support.
what if, and we will go on to the next parts of the journey, but now we are still at recruitment, what if they don't reveal because they don't know? They don't realize they have any kind of disability.
Exactly.
What do we do then? How can we then work with them?
And this is why we need to ensure that we have good staff in place to be able to identify this. So ensuring that there are staff that can identify if a student is struggling or if they may have, let's say, a learning difficulty, ensuring that lecturers, academic staff are aware of the referral routes, ensuring that then the wellbeing team are aware of the external support that's available. So if a student may have signs of dyslexia or ADHD, they're not able to concentrate in class, rather than lecturers indicating that they're naughty students or they don't know how to behave. Because over the years, there's so much research that has come through and there's so many students that have been disadvantaged. And now we have the knowledge, we have the understanding. So making sure that there is awareness and that we can identify those students and that the wellbeing team have external services at hand. So if they do need an assessment in dyslexia or ADHD, we can then refer them, get the right support in place.
Yeah. And you see, as you know, with this, and again, it comes back down to staff being able to recognise it, staff having the right training in place. And in, you know, further education, we see teachers that maybe have come from senior school education, and they actually have a lot more training on these things. You know, when we look at higher education, we're seeing a lot more didactic lecturing and things like that, and not so much lecturers that have that knowledge and understanding of these sorts of issues, particularly in widening participation, like we all are. You know, different for the standard universities with traditional university students, but for us it can be really hard. And then again, there's that stigma, because we've got a lot of European students, international students now, and a lot of cultures have a stigma where it's, you know, don't complain, just get on with it, there's nothing wrong. And actually people are feeling their whole lives, and when they get to university and someone actually says, oh, you know, if you ever thought about this, it sort of sets a little light bulb off, but it puts fear and shame into them as well. And that's what we really need to look at stamping out, that, you know, it's fine. When we look at the amount of conditions we have these days, and, you know, the mental health statistics, 1 in 3, I don't really, you know, I think it's probably quite higher than that. So it's really about knowledge, understanding and training for those staff so they can.
And how would you, because I know that we did this training for staff members and Faye delivered. What are the best ways to make the academics aware as well and kind of teach them to realize this? And as Emma says, having the staff in place who is not only good with the academic delivery, but also noticing these things and referring and using the right language, actually, and being inclusive. And what are the ways of, have you seen any good practice in kind of training staff members, academic staff members on that?
I think collaboration is key. We're not just one department, we're not just one team, and we shouldn't only just speak to the students. We need to liaise with several departments across the establishment. So, for example, at Regent, a part of academic staff development, we provide a wide range of sessions on student mental health, on student disabilities, on the services that is available at Regent. And we're always open to having lecturers or program leads come to us for a one-to-one session if they need any further clarity.
Do they come?
Yeah, definitely.
That's good. Yeah, because this is good that they realize that it's a collaboration, as you say, Emma. Really, I agree with
definitely. So collaboration is key, and then pinpointing lecturers or academic staff to the right direction if they need further guidance in this specific area. But providing that kind of safe space, open space, so that academic staff can come to you. Because if I would be disengaged, sat in my little corner, no one will approach me, right? And then students would be disadvantaged. But if I'm always saying, look, my door's always open, come to me, let's do it together, because our responsibility is to ensure that students successfully achieve, graduate, get into employment, and so on.
And have you seen some good progress in there, Emma, when they really come to you and you can see that the academic is more aware and referring you more students? Is it happening?
Definitely. So we have lesson plans at Regent where then all reasonable adjustments are there. Within that support plan, there is a section where it's specifically for lecturers, learning and teaching adjustments. And I created this lesson plan in collaboration with the lecturers. So I did not just create this support plan and thought it's going to do great, perfect. Sat down with all the academic support staff, all the lecturers, and said, what is it that you would like and what will help you in your teaching? And we created this together. Every Sunday, the lecturer gets an email with the link of the support plan on their online register, only visible to the lecturer. They can see the support plan complying with GDPR and data protection. They know what is required in their class. And on top of that, we have the academic staff development sessions throughout the year. We ensure that it's already put into place. And after every one of those sessions, there is then feedback where we can then work on the feedback. So it's an ongoing cycle where we're continuously improving and seeking feedback and ensuring that staff voice is being heard.
That's perfect. Thank you for sharing these really tangible tools. And I'm really encouraging, meanwhile, our listeners who listen us live from whatever channel to please share any comments or questions to the ladies. I think that we have amazing experts here, and thank you for sharing this. Faye, I'm turning to you because I know that you've just done a fantastic handbook on accessibility. You also deliver sessions. You're very keen on that. And these all include, like, I really loved last time when we actually had even a vocabulary, how to rephrase some of the things. So what are the things that you would suggest in terms of involving the academic staff members and also training them?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I don't know if it's the same for you, Emma, but I tend to see the same academics in my office week in, week out. You can really see the ones that, that really want to be involved in this. But again, it is really, I think, all widening participation. Colleges, universities need to be taking on inclusive teaching and learning and assessments. I think there's a big need for that across the board, and that will minimise reasonable adjustments that we have to give. It will minimise the load of, reasonable adjustments that academics have to remember to put into place in class. And I think by having a across the board inclusive teaching and learning policy, where a lot of those reasonable adjustments are put in automatically into teaching and more part of the teaching, is really going to push, that equity across our students, really, because, it can be so hard for a student to ask for help, especially an adult student. If you can imagine a man who's he's been in construction his whole life, he's come to college, he wants to do a business qualification to set up his own company, and then all of a sudden he needs to ask for help in his late 40s at the first time of his life, a proud man. That can be absolutely, soul destroying for someone. What we really want to do is make it easy and accessible, and make it so that people don't have to constantly ask for help. This help is given to them. And they feel comfortable to ask if it's not provided. And, I don't know, I'm not saying that's a fault of an institution, of any institution, because it happens in the world. But we really need to be mindful of that and really need to be promoting inclusivity across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. And what you do with the handbook and all the development and what both of you listed is really helpful. But one thing that is coming up a few times, as you mentioned, is widening participation and always students who have difficulties. Is student support also for those who, let's just say, don't have difficulties or not to that level, or they are probably from mainstream? So is it still valid in those institutions and for those students who don't face any such difficulties to an extent like others? Or is support only for those who need actually or realize they need support?
Definitely open to all, whether that's just a small conversation, whether you're feeling lonely or you'd want someone to speak to. Definitely, our doors are always open. Sometimes students tend to find that the wellbeing team's only for students with a mental health condition or a learning difficulty or disability. But we have international students that are away from home, homesickness, scared, don't know what to do, UK council tax, homes, how to find the right home, how to find friends, make friends again. So definitely for even small conversations with students. And we've had students come to us and say, look, I just want someone to talk to. I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling sad. We'll have that conversation and then they get going. So definitely, you don't need a condition to speak to the wellbeing team.
Yeah, good that you're saying this.
Point you to the right direction.
Absolutely. And we've seen this really when they're just homesick
Yeah.
or when they just feel a bit of a burnout, when all the assessments are shared with them, and at some point they feel like they burn out. Right?
Isolation can be awful.
Which one?
Isolation, when we've got students who are here away from the rest of their families, they need someone to talk to. They're in a strange country, in a strange college, doing a strange qualification in a different language, and they just need to feel that sense of belonging, really. I mean, a lot of time we spend signposting students to different activities, things that are going on in their area. And it is really, I mean, it's never one size fits all, as I'm sure Emma is aware. Everyone will come in. It's never a boring day. Everyone will come in with something completely different. But we've pretty much seen it all and heard it all. And as long as we can sort of send someone off in a better frame of mind than they came in and give them some resources that can support them, then you feel like you've succeeded for the day. It really is very rewarding.
If it's rewarding, then I will ask you, and you will have a few seconds to think, because I will give a shout out to another sponsor, a success story where you can really see that a student you have. And I know that you have thousands just to see, because you said it's rewarding. So how was it rewarding? But while you're thinking, I just would like to give a shout to our amazing partner, Chalk and Talk podcast. If you're looking for another great education podcast other than Teachers Talk Radio, check out Chalk and Talk with Anna Stocky. Anna is a passionate advocate for evidence-based math education for students of all ages. On her podcast, she talks about everything from effective teaching methods and how-to guides for teaching math facts to tips for evaluating research shows claims. She brings on top-notch guests like us, educators, researchers, and policymakers, and discusses issues that directly impact teachers and students. So Chalk and Talk is for anyone interested in education. Please check them out. And I'm going back to our amazing guests today, Faye Mitcham and Emma Buhtina. And thank you everybody for being with us live or listening us back later on. Today, we're talking about student support in our Tuesday Twilight show at Teachers Talk Radio. We have this show every second Tuesday from 6 p.m. live and then recorded on our podcast channels. And we always talk about a hot topic in higher education. So thank you. I'm turning to you again, ladies. And what I said before the little ad break is that I'd like to ask each of you for a success story where you could see that helping the student could go a long way.
At AQA, we work with the UK's largest teacher network to shape the future of assessment. With teachers for students, we ask questions today that matter tomorrow.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles.
I don't think I can name one. I really don't. There's not one that I can put my finger on. There's just so many students that. And to be honest, I'm going back to thinking over COVID time and how hard that was for students at that time. I'm sure many colleges went through the same thing. It was overnight, you're going online. At that point, I was actually a head of department on the academic side. And to see those students graduate 2 years later, the amount of success stories. And I mean, it was a health and social care degree. So these students had to do placements. They had to go out and work during this really scary time in COVID with children, with elderly parents, some who were autoimmune themselves. But the determination and
how could you help them? So what did you do that? And
support. I mean, talking was a lot of it, talking people through, talking for hours on the phone with some students who just didn't know how they were going to get through the next day.
Okay, so it's a lot of listening and a lot of talking, right? And that in itself is sometimes just to listen to someone is already helping, right? And they just feel like, okay, it was a long time ago, anybody has listened to me or asked me how I am. And sometimes just it helps them, right? When I used to teach every week, I asked the students of my students when I came in just to give me how happy they are on a scale of 1 to 10. And this was just as simple as that, as a question. And every time it was amazing to have this as starting a conversation for about 10 minutes, what's going on. And you could see when it dropped mid-semester, they were international students, so you could see that homesickness kicks in and it drops, or close to assessments, right? And this was just it. And they fed it back that it's amazing. Nobody is asking us how we are, how happy we are. And they started to reflect on it. And they said that in anticipation of the session, they already came with reflecting on, because they knew I would ask how happy they are. So it was a really good thing to see that, you just need to ask how they are and how someone is, right? Emma, what is your story? Do you have one? I know it's hard to choose one, but...
No, not at all. I mean, definitely, it's very hard to choose one, but I'll let you know about one student in specific. So had a wonderful young student, very bright, very determined, very motivated to study. She was care experienced, so her support circle wasn't very kind of strong. So her only support circle was Regent. And then that's where I kind of understood it's important that we ensure the student stays motivated, stays dedicated, and that she's supported throughout. Now, when she started, she was struggling with being able to concentrate in class, being able to read in a timely manner. And that's where then we sent her over to get an assessment done, a psychological assessment, where she was then diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia. We then helped her apply for DSA. She then had that one-to-one support in place. She started utilizing the strategies and the tools and the software. And 4 years later, she's now graduated. But throughout that time, we had monthly sessions with her. At the start, it was weekly. We had to make sure that she remains on track. And any kind of queries or referrals that she may have needed, then we were doing that. But I think the support sessions is what really helped. And when she graduated, she was so happy that because of the support that we gave to her, that is why she graduated. And that's why I kind of love what I do at the moment, because you can see the impact that it has on students and their lives.
Absolutely. Wow. This is really, really, really impactful. I remember once I had a student, and then I started to do it more with speaking of homesickness, and I could really see it as a student struggles. And I said, look, talked a lot about their family who were in Nigeria. And then I said at a point that, you talk a lot about them. Is it okay if I meet them online? And then she said she would ask them. They were happy to do that. So we set up a meeting, and I was so nervous. I even, asked for the names in advance. I practiced the names in advance to be able to pronounce them. And you know what? That was for me a breakthrough experience from that academic side. Actually see the family, talk to the family, see the roots, see how they connected. They really appreciated it a lot. I could get even the names right. And then I started to do it with a couple of others who were open to it. And this is amazing to see the student's story and backstory, exactly as you said, that they are coming from various cultures, and in that culture it's different. Probably they are the first ones who go to university, which they could never see this kind of as an example, what's happening there. And just from then on, knowing their story was very deep. Obviously, we were all in tears by the end of this session, but it was really, really breakthrough for me. And this is where I'd like to go to the next stage, talking about inclusivity and accessibility. Two of these, I have to say, sometimes buzzwords, which is now being attached to everything, and as Faye says, sometimes a tick box exercise. But I know that the two of you ladies are just the heart of it. So you really embody accessibility and inclusivity. Let's talk a bit about it. What is it? How you make sure it's not a tick box exercise within your area and area of influence, not just the school probably. And what is the future of it? Where should we go? We've come some way, certainly, but I sometimes feel that, yes, people mention, do they have a lived experience? They really. So this is what I'd like to now talk a bit about. Let's dedicate some time to this. Faye, do you have something to kick it off? Oh, no.
I do. Sorry, you cut out for a little bit there as well when you were talking. We all cut out.
Okay, but did you understand the question?
So inclusivity and accessibility.
Yeah, inclusivity, accessibility. How is it becoming real? What is your experience currently? What is the status of it? Let's talk about challenges really of actually making sure that it's a real lived experience and not just a buzzword.
I think you definitely need to practice what you preach. You know, lead by example, make sure that your team are inclusive. You know, I mean, it takes a certain type of person to work in a wellbeing and disability service. It's great if they've also got academic experience, because you really need that. They need to know where the student is coming from, you know, when they're struggling. And I think lived experience as well is amazing. Taking on people who may be neurodiverse, who may have mental health issues, who may have disabilities.
Or have family autistic children. Probably.
Exactly, you know, a family, definitely. Yeah. But having some lived experience as well, and knowing, just understanding and making the student, just like you just said to me, when you gave that example, that student felt so cared about, that you cared about them, you cared about their family. You wasn't just saying, they weren't just a name and a number to you that you were pushing out the office. You really cared about their family, about their lifestyle. And I think this is what inclusivity is about. You know, saying to the student, perhaps you don't understand their culture, perhaps you don't understand where they're coming from, but ask them to tell you, you know, because do your research. It's so important that we don't just ignore or push aside. If someone feels a way, they're feeling that way for a reason, and we really need to listen to that. And with accessibility, there's no excuse for any building not to be accessible these days. I know we're in London, we've got a lot of listed buildings, and sometimes there's issues around putting lifts in and things like that because of the listed status. But really, there shouldn't be a higher education or any education establishment that is not accessible.
Yes, and accessibility is not only the building, right? So it's a lot about with any kind of disabilities should
definitely
be right.
And, you know, toilets. You know, there's all sorts of different accessible desks. Fashion studios, drawing studios, could they fit someone in a wheelchair in? Is there room for them to move around? Have we got elbow pads on our sewing machine so that a student could use it with their elbow instead of their foot? There are so many issues around accessibility, and that's why we really need these students to let us know what they need, because they are the best ones to tell us.
Okay, thank you very much. Emma, what is your take on it? What is, if you can also define what is accessibility, what is inclusivity, and where we are with these? Sorry, just the light always goes down. Yeah, please go ahead. I will just, yes.
That's okay. So accessibility. So I think what I've been doing over the past few years is collecting case studies and identifying students that may have a disability where they needed adjustments or they needed things to be accessible for them. By having these case studies and raising it to the academic team, they would understand a little bit more. Because if they've never spoken to someone who has an access need, they won't ever understand. But if they hear the students struggle,
that's really good. And what were some of these case studies, or can you mention just one as a general one? Obviously not the main, but
definitely as simple as opening doors. If a student is on a wheelchair, how would they open the door? Usually there could be a button, right? If they are required to open the door, they would struggle. They will need to wait for someone, which is very embarrassing, to open the door for them. That is an access need. But that's where then the staff that are responsible for the estate, for accessibility, to ensure that that is accessible for the student. As simple as subtitles on videos or whilst you're talking in class. Subtitles can make a huge difference, whereas some lecturers just won't understand and they'd never use it.
Fantastic. The case studies are really good.
Having the ability to have the virtual learning environment. So there's a wide range of tools and software where then they can change the font, the color. Lecturers won't understand this, but if a student has dyslexia, it changes everything entirely. It would help them understand, it will help them read, or speech to text or text to speech, rather than reading everything because they struggle with anxiety or they're just not able to concentrate for long periods of time. these software, these tools transform learning. And that's why having these case studies and bringing it to the academic team would then help them understand, because we can give them a handbook and we can send them emails and state, look, please put up subtitles, or make sure that your teaching is being inclusive. But when you have students come to you or have case studies specifically in front of you, they would understand the impact. And that's where I think has been the most impactful.
Wow, that's really great, ladies. It's amazing. And thank you, everybody, for following us. You can share questions or just comments, what you do, what you experience in the comments, and we'll read that out. Let's talk a bit about now difficult cases and challenges. Have you faced, ladies, any kind of challenges, pushback from we are honest here, and you don't have to name anybody, but have you seen any pushback from the colleagues, from the academics, or sometimes from students? Have you faced these difficulties, and what do you do then? Yes,
reasonable adjustments are not black and white, and Faye would understand where I'm coming from, right? So there is the Equality Act, where there are protected characteristics, and we are required by law to ensure that students are having the adjustments in place. But we've not been given a handbook of what to follow, or instructions book, or a manual of what we can do and what we cannot do. We assess and tailor the support, and we then have to look at what is reasonable and what is not reasonable, and whether we can accommodate to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And would it be good to have such a, like, even from a regulatory point of view, such a guidebook, like these are the things that you can do, and that would probably not put you in a position to figure it out in each institution, right?
I don't think that would be possible. I mean, I'm part of the National Association of Disability Practitioners, and the email, so it's an organisation, and lots of higher education practitioners are with National Association of Disability Practitioners. And, you know, reading about some of the reasonable adjustments that some of the colleges are asked to put in, would we call them reasonable? Probably not at £150,000 a year. But these, you know, and they're getting in touch with their legal teams, and they're saying, is this reasonable? And they're saying, yes, you must put this in. So I think every university or higher education needs to have a legal team behind them. And it is a case-by-case basis. There is no one handbook or one list that could say, these are the reasonable adjustments. It's a case-by-case basis, which makes it quite difficult, really.
And it makes it harder for the institutions and the professionals in it to find it out one by one, each of them, right? If we have this forum, but I don't know how easy it is then to always figure it out for yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it would go back to a legal team if we found something that we didn't feel that we could put in.
And in terms of the students, have you faced some difficulties when you want to help and they just don't let you help, and you can see that, oh my God, it's going worse and I can't do anything? Have you seen
I've
that?
got a bit of a case study there. So we've got one student, she's got multiple conditions, and since she started, right, we're going to put an individual learning plan in for you. No, I don't want one. I think you need one. No, I don't want one yet. I'll come to you when the time comes. Okay. But then that time might come, and it might come just at the wrong time. So this particular student, the time actually came a day before submission, and she was hospitalised, and she was like, I need this individual learning plan now with these reasonable adjustments. And we put it in. But in those cases, again, you know, that could have been done, that could have been sorted out, that would have taken her pressure off of her. And we see kickbacks on every side of the board, from students, from academics, from budget holders. But that's why we're here, and we're passionate, because we don't stop, and we just keep banging at that door. And, you know, that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, that's really amazing to see that energy. Emma, do you have some experience with that, actually, also with students who would need the help, but they just don't want to take it? And of course, it's very hard to help someone when they don't want to take it, right? It's impossible almost.
Yeah, definitely. So difficult cases are always taking place, right? Because every student's different, but also the background of the student, the cultural differences of the student. And we've had students that just do not want to engage with our team, with the academic team, and they only want to speak to their lecturer. And that's very difficult, because how can we then initiate a support plan? How could we then make sure they're getting the right support in place? And their lecturer was the same background as them. And we then had to speak to the lecturer and then seek everything what the student needs. So that was a very difficult case. And then with time, upon engaging with the lecturer and letting them know, look, if you can please inform the student that we're only here to help. And only kind of 3 months down the line, the student gained the confidence to then speak to us about her problems. And she had a wide range of conditions, but she was always told that she cannot speak to anyone, that she can't speak about her emotions, about her mental health and what she's been going through. And that's why for 3 months she was disadvantaged, but relying on the lecturer. That was very difficult for us, because we know that she was struggling, she was not submitting. But now she's with us, she has a support plan in place, she's having sessions with us, and she's gotten so much better. She has a great support circle. She's attending now our workshop. She's made friends there as well. She's attending our events on campus. So
Yeah, that's a fantastic, actually also a success story. And yeah, I can imagine this, that as also Faye mentioned, and both of you mentioned, that in some cultures, or probably in any culture, sometimes when it's about mental health and all these issues, it's not something that, oh no, I don't need that, I'm fine, right? And it's easy to say. Speaking of challenges, there's another category, there might be, you will tell me, those who actually misuse this a bit, if you see what I mean. So some kind of disabilities which they don't have but would like to use at the right time to get to some advantage. Have you seen this? Is it easy to identify? What do you do? Or just a bit about this, because this could be the other side of the coin, right? If it happens.
Yeah. Do you know, this is a big one. So a lot of colleges and universities now are allowing students to have reasonable adjustments without giving evidence. Without giving any evidence. I feel that for some colleges and institutions that may be fine, we will require evidence, because otherwise it becomes very easy to become, oh, my friend told me that if I say this, then I can get this and this and this and get extra time on my work and things. So I think that we still, the evidence we take is minimal. So that could be a prescription, it could be a doctor's letter. So we're not looking for big 10-page documents and diagnosis, but which students do need to apply for disabled students allowance. The descriptors for that evidence is quite high. But at the same time, I haven't ever in all my years in education seen anyone try and abuse the system.
Okay, that's really good.
I don't feel that someone would make up a condition or try and be diagnosed with a condition that they haven't got just to be able to get that support. So we're quite lucky that we haven't seen that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I have heard that it does happen. And Emma's smiling, so I'm sure you've got a story there.
I was hoping for lots of case studies from you, Faye.
But no, we don't generally have that, to be honest. We have people who maybe come to us and feel that there is something, but they're not diagnosed, and then we signpost them to their GP and they come back and say, oh God, the GP has said this and this, which we would expect, because we wouldn't expect, again, someone to say that they're feeling away if they're not. So, Emma, what's your experience?
Okay, great. So I had a student that sent over evidence of a diagnosis of anxiety. Now, great, I've received the evidence, but I've noticed something different. The font of the name was different. It was a forged document.
So you are an investigator now.
No, I'm not an investigator, but I just noticed that the font was different. And I thought, well, it would be very wrong of me if I speak to the student and direct him and let him know that it was fake, right? I don't have evidence and I'm not an investigator or an FBI. So I sat down with him and I said, where did you get this document from? And that's where then he had to stumble across his answers and he didn't know what to say. He said, oh, I got it by email. Did you speak to anyone? Have you been taking any medication? He was like, no. I just got it by email. And that's where then I realized it's a forged document, but he has been experiencing low mood. He has been struggling for a long time, but he didn't want to speak to anyone about what he was going through. And that's when then I said, go to your GP, speak to them. And that's when then he actually got a diagnosis for anxiety a few months later. But it's so interesting how he wanted that document, and it wasn't his, but he had that condition, but he just did not want to speak.
That's very interesting, actually.
He wanted DSA.
So actually, he abused the system. He just had a different way to get into it, and it didn't work. What course was he doing, by the way?
He was doing engineering.
Oh, she's been doing business.
Ladies, how do you take care of yourselves when you are in such a profession? You really face a lot of hard moments and difficult stories. So how easy it is for you? I can imagine it's not very easy to face these cases all the day and care for others. Is there a way how you kind of also feel yourselves? Is it important?
Can we say this on radio? I'm joking.
Yeah, so what is it? You can say that there's not, and it's an issue. We can also say this, because I really think...
I think talking, you know, being able to talk, you know, to people. We've got some great staff, you know, here that we can talk to. Music's therapy for me. Is listening to music when you finish work, shutting everything out. And the same on my way in, you know, some mornings I'm dancing into work, listening to my music, walking down the road, just getting ready for the day ahead. But again, everyone's different. I mean, for me, although seeing my grandchildren at weekends is a bit of a drain, you know, that cuddle they give you, that innocence, and that knowing that actually all I'm going to do is concentrate on you now is a nice feeling, and it takes you away from that stress. But I think, you know, you like I said, you do have to be a certain type of person. This is not for everyone. And it would be great if we all had paid counselling services that we could all go to once a week and debrief. But, you know, in the climate, that is not available for people. And it is just about talking with like-minded people. And getting it out before you really take it home and it sits there.
Yeah, good tips, very good tips, Emma.
Yeah, definitely fair. I think it varies upon each individual, but as heads of departments or managers, we're responsible for also our staff well-being as well. But that's where then I think HR should be really stepping in. I think counselling there should be counselling for all wellbeing disability staff in the UK, because we read a lot of traumatic cases. And yes, we are working at a university, but sometimes the reports that I read, you think, wow, you've decided to study after all of that. So I think definitely having counselling in place for wellbeing disability staff is a must. How I look after my wellbeing, I think ensuring that I have a good support circle, having the ability to speak about certain cases, so debriefing with trusted family members rather than work colleagues. I think talking therapy is very important, because sometimes these cases would get to you, but just like Faye said, you need to be a certain type of person to work in this field, because when some staff would listen to the stories that you just heard, they'd be like, wow, I would never do that.
And I can see the passion in both of you, and this, I'm very sure that also takes you through this, and also the positive feedback. I always see a smile and talking about all the positive outcome of your work, which I think is amazing. And let's just bring here another thing. You are here for students and you support them, which is amazing. But is there any, so does it happen that staff members turn to you with their own well-being or own anxiety or any kind of things? And do you help them, or what's the, because this is, I think, a good point. I'm actually not only everybody would need like you or staff members as well, right? Or does it happen to you that staff also approaches you?
100%. And HR would not know about this because they don't trust HR, right? And they know who we are, and they know that we are always available to help. So yes, we have lots of staff coming to us, and we cannot disclose this to HR because they only want someone to hear them out. And that's why then it kind of comes to us. But then that's where then I think the issue is, and possibly the staff can then get overwhelmed because they are there to support students, but then they also they feel like they need to hear the staff concerns and their struggles and their worries. Definitely lots of staff come to me and no, I don't raise it with HR because they need someone to listen to. So maybe at home they have no one to talk to. But that's why HR's function is to ensure that staff are looked after or provide private mental health services that are not connected.
Yeah, but that's another question. Do they have that expertise that you do? Yeah. I mean, because it's, it needs,
but outsourcing and allowing staff to have the opportunity there. Yes,
absolutely,
that's a financial concern, but staff really need it. Like, now we do have a staff package available, but in the past, I was always concerned about my team. So we would have debriefs together. I would always ensure that they have a work-life balance, that they're doing things that they enjoy, because they may not be able to speak to family members or at home. So then I was kind of responsible to making sure that the teams are happy and they have everything they need to feel supported, and still supporting students. Because if the staff's well-being is not up to scratch, they would not be able to do their role.
Absolutely, and it's a very good point. It's not just you, but your staff, right, Faye? What do you think?
Again,
or for staff members?
Yeah, lots of staff members coming in here to talk to us, and again, like you said, it becomes a little bit overwhelming when you've got so many staff members, because you're trying to deal with the students' issues.
Yeah, it's not even your job, actually.
Staff, they don't want you to go to HR because, again, there may be issues there. Luckily, I've managed to purchase an amazing service. Shout out to you, Will, anyone who knows about you, Will. It's a staff and student counselling service. So all our staff and students are benefiting from that now. We've also got an EAP service. But again, you've got one service there, you've got another service there. It's a little bit disjointed, and it is hard, because you want someone as well that sort of knows what you're going through. So to ring a stranger and to say, well, all this and that, and then the next time and get someone different on the phone and go through it all again, it's like, And again, you can imagine how our students feel when they've got to keep repeating themselves to people. Talking therapies, again, people can refer themselves through the NHS, which is absolutely amazing. You get 6 sessions. I do feel that, for all higher education, there does need to be that person that the wellbeing team can talk to, the head of departments can talk to, because there's just not that provision, and we're getting it in place for students and slowly for staff. But again, it is that next tier now of who's supporting those people, supporting everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good shout. Yeah. Thank you so much. And before our last ad break, I would like to ask the last question, handing it over to you after the ad break, is how you imagine the most ideal student support, the future of student support. Okay, I'm giving you a few seconds to think about that while I'm doing this shout out to I'm just lighting up, the light is going up and down, so yes. So I'd like to give another shout to Hashi Learning, who are our partners, and they are publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Please check them out on this website that I put on the screen, hashilearning.com, if you're not watching us but listening us back. And our other wonderful sponsor is AQA, who know teachers are the real experts in the classroom, and they are the UK's most chosen assessment organization. And they are focused on helping teachers feel supported and ready. If you want to find out more, then head to their website or search AQA. We work with experts. And I'm back for the final questions to our wonderful guests, Faye and Emma. Thank you so much for our listeners live and those who are listening us back. Today's topic in the Tuesday Twilight Show at Teachers Talk Radio is student support. And we've really touched upon a lot of topics, from inclusivity, accessibility, supporting student, staff, and yourselves. And the last question is then, we've really brought in a lot of really great tools and techniques. What do you think would be the most ideal student support in the future of student support? How can you imagine it? And we didn't really touch upon it, but now I'm throwing it into the whole thing. How much technology could be part of it? You mentioned some apps, you mentioned AI, which could be then a personalized support. So would that be part of the future? Let's just include it into this last bit, if it's possible. I don't know who would like to start. Faye?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, we can't ignore technology. I mean, it's there. We've got to use it. I think you're never going to replace people when it comes to well-being and support, ever. But what you can do is mix the two to make it a lot easier and simplify it for the student. So again, I'm going to give a little bit of a shout out to Simplicity. It's a new case management system that we're developing. And that's got a system called Access. And what this will allow students to do is to send over their evidence for their conditions. They will be able to go in and choose their own reasonable adjustments that they want or that they need. That will come back to us, we'll sign it off, it will go directly to teachers through a system because their timetable will be on there. That negates so many of the initial problems, so much time that's spent backwards and forwards with a student. When are you available? When are you not? Oh, you didn't turn up to the meeting. But I really do think that all higher education establishments really need to look at wellbeing staff and making sure that they are available on campus when students are there, and there's enough of them to be able to deal with students, because the worst thing is having to turn a student away from the door because you're busy. So I think, a mix of good technology along with the understanding from institutions that this wellbeing is not going away. We're here to stay. We're not going anywhere.
It's even needed more and more, actually. As we use more technology, then we also need more of the
especially the way the world is. We've got financial crisis, we've got wars breaking out all over the world. People need that support in this time of, uncertainty. And I think by being able to answer students in a timely manner. No one student wants to ask for support and then be answered 3-4 days later because there's a backlog in the email box. We need to be answering those students, as quickly as possible and negating any fears and concerns they have.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you, Faye. Emma, how do you see the future of student support and also talking a bit about technology?
I think, firstly, the stigma around mental health and disabilities, that we've normalized. If you do have a condition, you will get the adjustments in place. In terms of an ideal kind of wellbeing team, stigma, workshops, awareness, technology can definitely make things so much easier. I believe there are a wide range of chatbots, AI chatbots that can, like an FAQ. So at the moment, we are creating a chatbot where we've fed all the kind of possible questions that students may have, or the questions that students may have when they actually enroll with us, because students have so many questions when they enroll. They speak to that AI bot and they would give all the information there. That then speeds up emails, waiting times. It won't replace wellbeing, but it will pinpoint them to the right direction.
Fantastic. And can you see also that AI can give even more personalized support when the staff member is not available, right? So this could be a positive thing. On the other hand, do you see a threat of, because there are some studies which say that people started to really get real advice from AI. So they are kind of like addicted to talking to AI, which is always there and free, right? So that's another thing. I don't know if you've seen that.
Definitely. There's an app called Wisdom, and it's a part of the staff package as well, available at Regent. And you speak to an AI bot in regards to your well-being. And I have not used it, but I find it very interesting because I'm sure my question is, has it been trained enough in the event of the student or the individual may be at risk of harming themselves or harming another individual? Because it is a robot at the end of the day. But is there a risk to AI? I think we can definitely utilize AI in a certain way, but when it comes to kind of well-being, or if an individual has a certain mental health condition, it's slightly risky to be speaking to an AI bot in terms of health and safety wise.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely. And just to touch on that, we know that some people with serious mental health conditions, schizophrenia, other things, it's through those mediums that actually make conditions worse and trigger a relapse.
There's no control.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
I think that definitely needs to be kept an eye on, a real eye, not an AI.
Ladies, thank you so much for your time and expertise. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure that also those who listen to us, almost 50 people. So thank you everybody who listened us live, and many others will listen us back later on. So thank you to Faye and thank you to Emma. Thank you for being here with us, and these will be all available on our podcast channels. Thank you, ladies. I'm saying goodbye, and we'll just finish this show. with thanking all our listeners. Thank you so much for being with us here today at Tuesday Twilight Show, and I'll see you then in 2 weeks with other 2 brilliant guests and another great topic. So have a wonderful rest of the time and see you later.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.